So, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear us and you can see us clearly. I would like to remind you that this session is being recorded. The recording has already started, and before we begin with today's webinar, I would like to remind you of some technicalities. As mentioned, this is a recorded webinar, and all the material will be uploaded on the European School Education platform in the following days. And please make sure that you won't share any personal information during this session. If you want to meet with other people, you can always use the networking tab on the European School Education platform. So once again, thank you for joining this webinar offered by the European School Education Platform, the European Commission's platform for school education in Europe. My name is Maria Elena, and I will be the hostess of this session. So we invite you to share any thoughts, questions, concerns in the chat. As you can see, your microphones and cameras have been disabled, but you can always use the chat to share anything that you would like to ask the speaker, or if you have any technical difficulties, of course, we are here to help you. And of course, as always, stay with us until the very end of this webinar to learn more about the upcoming learning events on the European School Education platform. So, with no further delays, I would like to invite you, our speaker. For this webinar, we have invited Professor Jose Garcia. He works as an inspector of education, overseeing school evaluations, teacher performances, and the implementation of inclusion initiatives within the schools in Spain, of course. He has an extended experience as a guidance counselor for students, families, and educators, but also as a teacher trainer focusing on topics such as autism, gifted education, and learning disabilities. Today, with Jose, we will, let's say, delve deeper in the special education needs, and we will focus on some practical strategies and insights to effectively support students with special education needs in inclusive classroom settings. So, with no further delays, Jose, if you're ready, you can share your screen. I will stop sharing now.
Okay, is it ready?
Yes, it works perfectly.
Okay.
Great.
So I will start. First of all, thank you to all the attendants for your attention and for your attendance. And thank you also to the school platform to trust me to communicate this presentation to you. I will speak this afternoon about the supporting criteria and some activities to support the student with special education needs. And I think that it would be for you so interesting to speak about the different views in the treatment of the school, the special education needs students in our school. And let me start with a picture that I am sure that if you haven't seen this specific picture, you have seen a similar one. And it is about the difference between equality and equity. If you see, some people think that the aim of the school is to treat all the students and all the people in the same way. But if you look at that two different pictures, we can see the difference between equality and equity. Equality refers to providing the same resources and opportunities to everyone, regardless of their individual circumstances. It emphasizes uniformity and aims to ensure that everyone is treated in the same way. But as you can see, equality maybe is not fair for everyone. And if we think about the different students with different needs, is not fair, obviously. And if we look the second picture, is about equity. Equity, on the other hand, involves recognizing that each person has different needs and circumstances. It focuses on fairness by allocating resources and opportunities based on these individual needs to achieve an equal outcome. So the difference is that the equality in that situation is to give the opportunity to have the same access to information and schooling in that place. So I think that this idea is important for the following slide, because we are supposed to speak about special educational needs, but I would like to change the focus and to change the look, not only in the special needs that many of the students will present, but also on the alternative concept of barriers to learning and participation. If we focus on special educational needs that are the non-ordinary needs that a learner may have in schooling as a result of intrinsic or extrinsic limitations or barriers, that is the main concept for me. It's a concept based on the diagnosis, so it's based on a clinic paradigms. Is focused on the diagnosis of needs of specific students, not only, but in many cases with disabilities or with learning difficulties. The student with that level need special schools, special classes, special teachers, and or, in some cases, special resources, human or material resources. The alternative concept that is nowadays is even more used is the concept of barriers to learning and participation, and is also defended by the professors from the University of Cambridge, Tony Booth, and his colleagues. So it's focused on the idea that the barriers to learning can refer to all aspects that could potentially make learning more challenging or difficult. They can not only originate within the child, but also emerge from the curriculum, sometimes from the educational systems, sometimes also from the environment. And you will see afterwards some examples of different kind of barriers. If we focus in the word or the idea of participation, the participation means learning alongside others and collaborating with them in shared learning experiences. It implies also being recognized, accepted, and valued for oneself. So, if you just a few words about that, if sometimes if we only focus on the special needs students, it can be not a good idea, because sometimes it could be to assign a lower expectation, because they as they need special resources and special learnings, we will not focus on the rest of the students. So if we focus in the concept of barriers, we will have a better attention to all the students, and this concept is more focused in trying to make all the students to be succeed and at school. Okay, so there are many classifications about the different kind of barriers, and I have I will talk to you about one of the different classification that we can find about the different barriers to learning and participation. We have the physical learning barriers, and the main concept of this kind of barriers is the lack of access to the building, lack of access to the materials, is related to students who use some, for example, the students who use wheelchairs or crutches, but also with visual and auditory impairments or speech and communication difficulties. The common element, as I have told you, is the lack of access, and it can be wide-ranging from being able to enter a building freely, understanding the materials provided, being able to take note, or being able to respond to someone. And the second kind of barriers to learning are the cognitive learning barriers, and these are all the barriers related with cognitive functioning and skills. Are the limitation that people can have in areas of cognitive functioning and skill, which include conceptual, social, or practical skills. And I think that is also a point important to transmit related with the cognitive learning barriers, that all the students are capable of learning with their difficulties, obviously, but all the students are capable of learning. But in this case, students who have cognitive learning barriers are likely to need more time to learn and develop certain skills. And there may be certain things that at the end they cannot learn, depending on the severity of the learning barriers. Cognitive learning barriers are also wide-ranging and can affect difficulties with memory, problem solving, attention, reading, linguistic, verbal comprehension, math comprehension, and also visual comprehension. And cognitive learning barriers range from mild to severe and can affect only one area or multiple areas of cognitive function. Okay, but I think it's maybe if we still think about the previous model focused on the special needs, is one of the main characteristics assigned to different labels. Okay. Other important kind of barriers are the emotional learning barriers, and the main concept related with it is the student's emotional well-being. To participate in learning activities, sometimes students have some challenges that related with the emotional well-being. The emotional experiences of the students can influence their ability to learn, their engagement, their motivation, career choices sometimes. And the most common emotional learning barriers occurs due to peer pressure, fear of failure, emotional sensitivity, adjustment, the capacity of being able of different adjustment to changes, to be same sometimes. So it's an important kind of learning barriers to take note of it. And in addition, we have also the environmental learning barriers that are related to obstacles in the surrounding of students, and is related to the classroom management. Sometimes it's related also with the ability of some teachers to manage the class, the size of the classroom, time, space, resources available, the ratio teacher students, it's obvious that the crowded classroom is more difficult to teach than a class with a small number of students, obviously. Then we have the cultural learning barriers. And now some days ago, one of the participants asked me through social media that if we were going to speak about the student from Ukraine that came to Europe, but not only, but the different, not only the language that is also related in is also a different barrier, but also the different cultural background could be a learning barrier for students. Why? Because different cultures sometimes have different perceptions and perspectives of the world. Sometimes people from different cultures have different meaning of words, of signs, interpret differently the behavior. Sometimes we have different contexts of communication, and this could be also a barrier for the learning. Then we have the language barriers, and the main concept is the lack of a common language. Not only people coming from a different culture, but also people without the language has different difficulties to access to the learning at school. And it could be for the lack of proficiency in communication and understanding. And this barrier can affect not only to students, but also to their families, because it's a barrier not only for the learning, but I think that even more for the participation in the school. We have also the mental health barriers, and you know that some students with different mental disruptions have different individual perception of themselves and about their life, and it can be a negative thing because sometimes they have negative experiences of learning. People with mental health problems have also fear of being discriminated because of that. But I think that it is also important to focus in the idea that there are I think that a high percentage of population, also for students, maybe 8, 9, or 10% of the population, may have some kind of mental health problems, or permanent, or maybe in some time of their lives. So I think this is an important barrier to take attention on it. And the last barrier to learning in this kind of classification are the social learning barriers. The main concept in that case is the lack of development of social skills. And so many people and some authors think that the social or soft skills should be also taught at school, because it only affects to the learning also, and there are some kind of problems, behavioral difficulties, emotional difficulties, problems with bullying, peer rejection, and after tell you about these 8 kind of learning barriers, we have to also to say that all of that can be connected, because if we have some problems with cognitive learning barriers, maybe they can also have social learning barriers, or people or students with physical learning barriers can also have some barriers related with the environmental environment of their classroom and so on. So we have to pay attention to these kind of barriers and the possibility of interconnection among them. Then after telling you about the different barriers, we have the solution. So the solution for the and the best way we can teach our students with these kind of barriers is the inclusive education. Inclusion is about creating welcoming and supporting aspect of learning environment for all the students. Inclusive practices also go beyond placing a student with special educational needs in mainstream schools. It's a very important thing. Inclusion is not just letting all the students gathering all the students together, but we have to also to develop different strategies to do it well and properly. Subject teachers adapt lessons, providing differentiated instruction and use various resources. And it will not be the case of this webinar, but I think it's so interesting to learn about the universal design of learning, because we can speak about different strategies or criteria to organize the classes under the inclusive education paradigm, but I think that the main activity and the main topic that the teachers can be trained on is the universal design of learning, because a way to adapt all the different teaching activities for every student. But it's a topic for maybe not for a webinar, but also for a whole training program. Okay. And the whole class gains from understanding and celebrating the differences of all the students. For example, inclusive education ensures all the students' needs are met. The curriculums, in this case, caters to different learning styles. And also peer tutoring encourages teamwork and empathy. So I insist, the inclusive education is not only gathering all the students in the same classroom and that's all. We have a lot of things to do, and we may organize this kind of education properly. So the inclusive education, okay, why should be organize our lessons in order to address the inclusive education? Okay, pues for many reasons, because it's a commitment that our nations have signed, and for example, we have the Sustainable Development Goals, and you know that the number 4 is related to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and to promote lifelong learning opportunities for all the students, with or without special needs. The United Nations Convention on the Right of the Child, signed in 1989, in the Article 23rd, they signed a compromise to ensure that the disabled child has effective access to and receives education, training, preparation for employment, and other services in a manner conducive to the child achieving the fullest possible social integration. In the late 80s, we still didn't. They still didn't speak about the inclusive education, but the direction was set in that case. Next, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, signed in 2006, they say that a person with disabilities can access an inclusive, quality, and free primary education and secondary education on an equal basis with others, and very important, in the communities in which they live, not in a special school that is in another town or in another neighborhood. They have the same right to go to school with their equals and in the communities in which they live. And we have also the Salamanca Statement signed with the UNESCO members in 1994. The states shall adopt as a matter of law or policy the principle of inclusive education, enrolling all children in regular schools unless there are compelling reasons for doing otherwise. So, according to all that agreements and treaties, we have also the European Commission commitment, according with the 2030 agenda and the Sustainability Development Goals. And we have also, at least in several states, like, for example, mine, Spain, they have transferred these principles to the national acts and laws related with education. So one of the principles in the educational laws for many countries, at least one of the principles of the last education law in Spain, is that the main concept and principle to education has to be the inclusive education, and also it covers the to be mandatory the universal design of learning, but it's something still difficult to get. So if we are talking about the educational inclusion, there are some measures related at different levels that we can take. So here you have 4 different levels to organize different measures to attend the special needs or the barriers to learning inside the educational inclusion umbrella. So the first level are the measures that can be taken at the school level and can be developed some preventive, stimulation, or intervention protocols and programs. An example of that can be, for example, in some pre-primary ages. You can, for example, organize a program to stimulate language with different songs, with different poetries. It's a method to stimulate the language in small children, and can be a prevention program for language barriers or for language problems afterward in primary school. At school level, they can also organize inclusive playgrounds, organizing different games in break times, trying to all the students to be included and not to exclude any student. So it's a good program or a good measure to prevent for maybe some social barriers. They have also the possibility to organize different groups, flexible groupings, with different interests, with different scientific, with different level of knowledge of different subject. But sometimes if they don't organize well, it could be not very inclusive measures, but they have to organize properly. And at the level of the school, they can also make some accessibility modification some renewing of the building, and to install maybe elevators and something like that. But they are measures at the level of the school organization. Then we have the measures at the classroom level. And then after that, I will tell you about the sample, how to organize the co-teaching, inspired in some study made by some authors from the University of Oslo. Is the way that you can organize the teaching with 2 or more teachers in the same classroom, but they all, in that case, they have also to organize properly. Not only with the inclusion with 2 teachers without organization, it will work properly. Also, and after that, and also related with the universal design of learning, is very useful to organize and to have a repository of graduated activities, because in some cases, for the same topic, if you have different activities for the children that can be developed according to their possibilities or for the level of knowledge, they all will work in the same topic, but at different level maybe. But the goal or the aim will be the same for that lesson. And there are also strategies related with the active learning or cooperative learning. For about interactive groups or cooperative learning, sometimes we need 2 or more teachers or 2 or more adults to coordinate the work that is being doing in the different groups. It's a good option also to include and to make all the people with or without special needs to participate in the lesson and in the classroom. Then we have the individualized educational inclusion measures that are developed with the develop of different individualized work plans. And it may include access adaptations, methodological adaptation, letting more time to end activities or different kinds of evaluation activities. And then we have the extraordinary educational inclusion measures that can be significant curricular adaptation. Sometimes we have also the possibility of extraordinary retention in a stage. For example, in primary school to retard the schooling in primary school, but only it is if we can be sure that it could be a benefit for the pupil. If not, it will not work. Okay. So. Do you know that for the development of the different measures, we need some human resources? So very quick, I will tell you that we have special teacher or support teachers. Sometimes they are in charge of the individualized education programs, the adaptation of the curriculum. They participate also in the assessment and evaluation, and they have to collaborate with general teachers also. In some cases, we need special needs assistance, and they are essential for a student with lack of mobility. And they help in the mobility assistance and safety. They help sometimes in feeding assistance. They help with the personal dressing or hygiene of some student that they needed. We have also, and not only, but also in Spain, we have a with particular task the guidance counselor that they participate also in the evaluation of special needs of nowadays in the barriers of educations. We coordinate also with different services inside and outside the school They participate in the family support and also in emotional and social support. And then for me, the main resource for the school that are the general and the subject teachers. They program the learning activities. If they are well trained, they can also use the universal design of learning for many of the activities. They can apply and develop different individual measures, methodological in evaluations. They participate in the adaptation of the curriculum, in the assessment and evaluation, and also in the support of the family. And there are sometimes in some school other specialists, speech and language teacher, educational physiotherapist, that not only have a direct intervention, sometimes they can get some advices for the general teachers in how to make and develop some activities for them. So I think that for me, this is a very important slide. There are, for me, a very interesting study developed by Bolly Holmberg and Jena Prathaban, made in 2016. And they studied the different criteria related with the different kind of inclusion activities. So they divided in three kind of criteria. The ones that are related with interaction, they're related with support, and they're related with the adaptation of different materials, classrooms, facilities, instructions. And they define the teacher collaboration and the importance of that. The teachers may collaborate. Teacher, general teacher with general teacher, or a special teacher with general teachers. Teacher and students collaborations, and it's so important because it makes the students to be more motivated for education, and also it could be possible for the teachers to adapt the different procedures and the instructional materials according to the student's ability. So in some manner, we are still talking about the possibility to apply the universal design of learning. Okay, but this is another topic. And the student collaborations. The inclusion is successful when the students without special needs accept the students with special needs, which lead for peer acceptance and peer tutoring. In inclusion, the student collaboration can be success if all the students accept each other, the ones with special needs and the one without special needs. And in this kind, this could be beneficial also for the student without special needs, because they learn all together, and sometimes they know better what they have learned if they explain to another students. So it could be beneficial for every students. Related with support, we know we have the general teacher role. So in that case, the student with special needs require additional support from general teachers than other students to attain mastery in learning. In the case of the special teacher role, the support from this teacher is vital for a student with special needs and requires specific assistance and adaptation of the instructional procedures. And it is also important the students participating in the learning community to access to career guidance, for example, the possibility of being elected as a student representative, and having the same support than the rest of the students. In the case of adaptation, we have in the case of mastery of learning, this adaptation from the general and special teachers helps students to meet their unusual needs that are required to be fulfilled for attain mastery in learning. In the case of the classroom facilities, the criteria is that the facilities sometimes are not adapted to the diverse learner, not only the one with special needs. So we can't teach all the children in the same way. The classroom environment needs to be adapted to make it barrier-free and least restrictive environment for the children with special needs to move around and to give them the possibility to use the classroom facilities in the same way. In the case of learning materials, the students with special needs require adaptation in the learning material to suit to their current ability level and achieve mastery in learning. And in the case of instructions, the teacher needs to adapt their teaching methods to meet the needs and ability of children with special needs. The effective teaching of diverse learners requires different instructional methodology. So these 10 criteria are the ones that we have to take in order to design the different educative inclusion practices. And I will show you an example about how to apply this. Okay, is what we called the co-teaching. In this case, how to organize the lessons of a classroom with two different teachers. We have different options, but the possibility for the general or subject teacher and the support teacher to organize and to participate, and maybe why not the possibility to the participation of two general teachers from the same subject, or depending on the possibilities of the organizational of the school with related subjects. How they can organize the classes? First of all, students are assigned to different working groups. The students are divided in different groups, including SEN and other students without special needs. The general teacher gives introduction, and the other teachers also supports with additional information to explain the concept in a more clear way, trying to be sure that all the students understood the activity and the instruction. While the students are working, both teachers go around and help all the students with and without the special needs. At times, teachers also give individualized instruction to the students who need additional support. And in some cases, at some point, one teacher works with one student, and the other teacher guides the rest of the students. But this is the way to organize. But it's very important that to organize this kind of task properly, we need a lot of time for coordination. When can they coordinate this kind of activities? With specific meetings during the week, with didactic department meetings, at least in Spain, they have in the working weekly time, they have some times to have a didactic department meeting. For example, the Spanish teachers or the math teachers, they gather together once a week. So they can do it in that meeting, and also with the participation of the special teacher, if it's the case. and also in the evaluation and assessment meetings that they all have every quarter, every 3 months, more or less. And the important thing related with the previous criteria that I told you before is that according to the study of the authors from the University of Oslo from Norway, this particular practice address all criteria for effective inclusion, the 10 criteria that I told you before. And it's and this kind of this way to organize the lessons are better than the one-to-one support inside or outside the mainstream classroom, better than the small support groups inside or outside the classroom, and before the traditional teaching with the only one general teacher. So I think that is a good point and is a good suggestion to organize in a good way and addressing the criteria for effective inclusion to try to organize this kind of activities. And finally, and in the case that we have to also adapt even more the curriculum, we have the extraordinary measures. And this slide is based on the regulation from my region in Castilla-La Mancha in Spain. We have also the significant curricular adaptations that are developed in individual plans. It's individual plans that every general teacher is responsible to adapt the curriculum on their subject. They all coordinate at least once every 2 or 3 months to see what they are doing. Sometimes we have a specific team for some kind of disorders, and we have also a specific autism spectrum disorder team composed by support teacher, special need assistants, and speech and language teachers. At only place in specific schools with a bigger number of students affected by the ASD. Almost all the time the students stay in normal classes, but they have also a specific classroom with a specific material to stay maybe 1 or 2 hours a day to work very, very specific activities. Then we have also the combined schooling with half of the week staying at ordinary school and half of the week staying at special educational schools. And they go only to the special school for specialized resources, language therapies or physiotherapy or something very specific. But we also, and I think that it will not last for many years. We have also we have special education schools for students up to 21 years old, and only for severely disabled students with such significant needs that they require a specific response and cannot benefit from regular schooling. I am telling you about multiple disabilities and very, very, very hard cases. And also for students with this kind of needs, to study some vocational programs when they are up to 16 years old. But there is also a national plan according to the last educational law to close this kind of school and to convert them into specialized educational resources centers. Okay, so this is more or less what I try to explain to you. I think that we can finish with this quotation with Ban Ki-moon. Inclusive education is not a privilege; it's a fundamental human right, as Ban Ki-moon said. And thank you. I think that I have been time effective. According to the program, I think that you have time now to make some questions that I will try to respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jose, for this very interesting presentation and for all the practices and strategies that you have shared with us today. They are, I think, I found them personally pretty interesting. And from what I see from the reactions in the chat, there are a lot of people reacting with hearts, thumbs up, and congratulating. And we're not done yet. We still have a few minutes left. So I would like to read some comments that we received in the chat. And of course, everyone, feel free to share any questions that you have for our speaker today, or something that you would like to highlight, something that you would like to share, something that maybe concerns you happening in your classroom, if you're a special education needs student, or if you happen to have students with special education needs in your classrooms. Because we know that in some cases, in some countries, there is this mixed system, let's say, where the students, they attend normally the classroom. They don't go to a special education needs schools, but they have support teachers working exclusively with them, let's say. But let me read some comments here first. So Carmen mentioned that for all these inclusion measures to be effective, sufficient time for coordination and training is essential. I think you mentioned that, Jose, during in the last minutes. You mentioned that it is important to have that the schools allocate some time, and the systems overall allocate some time for teachers to meet. But unfortunately, we know this is not the case for every country and for every school. I think you are very lucky to have this system. And I was thinking to myself that it would be very beneficial in some cases to have, I don't know, maybe shorter days, and then allocate some time in the afternoon for teachers exclusively to meet, because also teachers are employees. They cannot work 12 hours per day and they cannot stay in school for 12 and 15 hours per day. They have also their personal life. But how would you approach maybe a system that doesn't have this this time allocation, let's say, for meetings? How I don't know if you have to give some advice to teachers who don't have these benefits. How could they solve this, let's say, issue of collaborating with others?
Okay, I think that I think that is so difficult to answer to this question. Because I think that it has to be with a different regulation from every country. For example, in not only in Spain, in my country, but also even more I think in my region. You know, Spain is very difficult to understand the administration, because you know that we have almost 17 different countries inside the state, but we have different time for the teachers have different in the weekly schedule. They have sometimes for the lessons, for teaching, and sometimes to coordinate and also to take care of the students without a teacher. For example, you know, a teacher get ill, and you have sometimes to attend and the teacher with the students without teacher for that time. So I think that it could be mandatory to have enough time in the regulations of the working time schedule for all the teachers to have these times to coordinate, because there are a lot of tasks and duty to do, and I'm sure that they also need time to correct the exams and to prepare evaluation and to prepare the lessons, and I think that they also need this time to coordinate and to be trained in this kind of procedures related with the coordination. So if they don't have this time, at the end, it's only a matter of motivation or maybe extra motivation, because if they are motivated to work in this way, they will have time in break time or maybe in the afternoons. But for me, it is not fair. They need the time enough to ensure that they coordinate and they are trained and they prepare this kind of activities.
Yeah, indeed, time is very important, and overall in the school system, because we hear from teachers that they have lack of time, they don't have enough time to do some activities they would like to do, or some let's say more interactive activities, and they need to stick to a schedule, to a more strict curriculum. But yeah, well, the motivation is something that always keeps the teachers working with students. I have met a lot of teachers in my life, and most of them, they share the same thing, that I am motivated because I love my students, so this gives me energy to do more things and to try to achieve more. And well, that's very nice to hear, but as you said, it's not fair. Of course, it's not fair. Let's hope that maybe in the future those issues, those problems might be resolved, at least if not in all the countries, at least in most of the countries, and there will be an emphasis on special education needs curricula. And before we close here, I would like to share with the audience here, with our participants, the upcoming events on the European School Education Platform. As you can see, we have an upcoming webinar. It's an open webinar and accessed by all on the 4th of December, where we will talk about literacy and digital skills, and how we can combine literature with technology and online tools. And of course, we have an ongoing webinar series. The first webinar was on Friday. The next one is on Tuesday. And of course, we have the online course series of Unlocking the Power of Teachers' Digital Competencies. Feel free to go through the material. It's a series of courses, I think 4 in total, if I'm not mistaken. Please excuse me if I'm mistaken, where you can learn more about digital competencies and how to use different tools and material in your classrooms. And yeah, I think we can conclude here. Let me remind you to fill in the survey form that we have prepared for this webinar. Your feedback always helps us to improve, and we really hope that you enjoyed today's session. And yeah, we hope to see you soon. I see some comments here in the chat. Yes, so we are sorry. We have shared a different survey, but yeah, my colleague Kira has shared the right one with you. Thank you for noticing that. Well, sometimes mistakes happen. Yeah, we can conclude here. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. You will be able to find the material of this webinar, the recording, and the PowerPoint that Jose has prepared on European School Education Platform on the webinars page in a couple of days. Probably by the end of the week, it will be there. You will be able to revisit the material. Thank you all. Thank you again, Jose. And we hope to see you soon. Have a nice evening, everyone.
Bye-bye.